Once again, welcome to Talking Technical. Christelle had the show for 2 weeks, but I'm on tonight, and I really hope that you guys get some good feedback and you can make use of it, because we get plenty emails of people thanking us. And of course, the most important thing, we cannot do anything if we don't get any requests. So let's kick off. And the main one is Dischem tonight. Africa dropped us a tweet and he said, listen, can you maybe give us your views on Dischem? Now, if I look at this chart here, Africa, it looks like that the share is trying to find its feet. If you look at the share price since about, you can almost say early 2018, the share had this double top. And from that double top, it actually lost momentum. This double top worried us already then, and since then the share lost all the way momentum. And if you look at it, you can just see, if I use this line, the trend since then is all the way to the downside, but there's something positive happening here. And the big thing, Africa, that I like is that we're sort of seeing what we call a double bottom. In July it made a low of about 1668, and it went up a little bit and it almost came back all the way to around 1680. Now that is positive, but although the trend is down, I'm seeing almost, you can see this U formation, a beautiful base that it is forming, and some people talking about a saucer formation. I use this and say, listen, the share is busy with a beautiful consolidation, but the important thing is it's got a low, a higher low all the way, and maybe we're starting to see this massive downtrend that kept us busy for almost, you can say, 2.5 years, suddenly or slowly but surely starting to turn around. And the big thing is, the share needs to consolidate above this line. And there you are, and you can see it's testing that line now, and that level is sitting at 19 Rand and 80 cents. While this 19 Rand 80 remains a support, you can say that this bottoming of the share price is positive, and the moment it goes below 1980, I will get nervous about the share. So when do we know that the momentum is really starting to pick up? If this little high of 21 Rand and 20 cents can turn into a support, then we know we've got another higher high. So Africa, maybe time to buy, but it must hold above 1980. Let I give you a stop loss. The stop loss is 1778 to protect your capital. So let's see if it can break this 21. And then if it can go above, your targets will be 2160, 2342, and maybe all the way back to this little high. Previously, that was a resistance. It can take it back to 25 Rand and 57 cents. Well, Leon asked about Aspen. It looks like the sector of the pharmaceuticals are in the spotlight. Let's have a look at Aspen and see if we can find something there that makes us interesting. Let's see, Aspen, there you are. Aspen, if we look at this price, look at it all the way from, you can almost say, from 375 Rand, it lost momentum. It's almost the same as Aspen, Leon, as Dischem. It had a low of, in August, it had a low of around 65, 63. But since then, it's slowly but surely creeping higher. If I look at this trend line, it looks like that every time that it gets close to this, it's called support line, there is some buyers, because there was the initial buy, then it rallied up, it came back to test the line, the guys came in to buy it again, it was a little bit of a rally, it came back, and now we see almost like it wants to find another bit of support here. The important thing here for me, Leon, it must not go below this low. While the share price can remain above, there's your level above 103.62. Momentum for me will be to the upside. And I would like to see if we can take that high out, if this support that I showed here, this support, if that can remain intact. I would love to see the share eventually go above 152.91. So yes, see, as this is your guideline, it needs to stay above that. And if you do buy as close as possible to that line, make use of the stop loss of the following one, 85, 84. At least it looks like Aspen is slowly but surely working on a base after a massive sell-off. Can you believe that this share was in its heyday 440 rand, dropped all the way to below 80 rand, and now it's starting to find its feet. So maybe early days, but of course it can maybe surprise us. Let's have a look at PPC. I looked at PPC a few weeks ago, and I mentioned that I start to like the share, the chart, because slowly but surely it was trying to find its feet then. And look what's happening. Since then, the share is still working to find a base. What we see is at least it does not make any new lows again. Now, Johan is asking about it. Johan, I will look at this chart and I will say to myself, okay, this low was at around 42 cents. It's now trading at 88. While this 42, that low there, is still a support, or the share does not go below that, that gives me the idea that the low is maybe intact. So let's have a look here. I will only get positive, of course, if this high, and there you are, if that little high on the share price, that will be at R1.26. If it can break above 126, we can almost say that the low of that is in place, and above 126, this ugly sell-off that we saw all the way from 10 rand right down to about 40 cents is maybe almost something of the past. And then I think a medium term or even a long term investor, but I know this company's got huge problems, huge debt, we can maybe see that something is on the change. And remember, it does not mean that the company, if it goes to 42 cents and there's a lot of debt, things cannot turn for the better. Yes, things can turn for the better. And we've seen it many a time in the past. If a share starts to turn around, it can really surprise you to the upside. So let's be patient. If it breaks that 126, I like the chart. But in the meantime, just be a little bit careful. Johan, if you've got the stock, I don't know if you've got the stock, then hold on. If you want to buy the stock and you may be looking at the medium to a long term, only buy above 126 and then make use of a stop loss of 83 cents to protect capital. Above 126, of course, that high there, can you believe it? 177 will almost be your next target. And there's a tiny one, 193 and even 2 rand. So, Johan, if it really starts to go, this share can surprise. Let's have a look at Jack. Jack is asking about sepaku. Now, sepaku, of course, is the other cement company in South Africa. And look what happened. Beautiful base. And what happened when that base broke? Almost like PPC, but the difference is PPC is not yet on the way above that 126. But what happened to sepaku? When that level of 45 cents turned into a support, it gave us almost like you say, a lamp-hole formation to the top. It rallied all the way from there, went to touch 91 cents, come back. And remember, this is all weekly charts. And that just tells you that some of these, almost you can say, counters that struggled for many years are starting to find its feet. And it maybe just tells us that although we're sometimes negative on our economy, there's maybe a few shares that's been so hammered over the years that they're starting to look attractive to maybe your value investor or somebody that believes that the company can turn around. But of course, it rallied, and while it stays above this 44 cents, I will be positive on the share. Although it rallied, it needs to come back. In actual fact, I would love it. You can test that 44 and then go eventually above that 91 level. Then you know that the turnaround is intact and that the share can maybe go even higher. And remember, even this company, many years ago, and we can almost not believe it, was a share of, there you are, look at it. That was a share of above 10 rand 28 in its heydays. So yes, it's still cheap and it can maybe go a bit higher, but stick to your stop loss. If it breaks this line of 44, it can easily go to 30 cents. So if you buy close to that support line that I showed there you are, this support line, use 30 cents as your stop loss just to protect your capital. Well, let's have a look at Bulletin. Masheko asked about Bulletin. And I think he's interested in the share because remember, Bulletin also has some oil assets. And it can maybe just be a good buy for the future, especially while oil is ticking up. You know, a few months ago, the futures of oil went to 0 and below 0. And suddenly it trades at about 48. So it just shows you. And look at this chart of Bulletin. Masheko, Nice chart. Nice momentum to the upside. I hope you bought the share before, because look at it, every time that it gets to this support line, there's some buyers. This time it almost went there, it fell through just when the coronavirus struck everybody, and it rallied all the way to the top, and it found its support again. This chart actually looks okay to me. The trend is up, and unfortunately it rallied all the way from 304 to about 359 in a matter of 3 weeks, so it's a little bit heavy rally. So I will wait for it to pull back a little bit and then buy maybe around this 320 level, close to the support. Make use of this as my stop loss. There you are, that 274.65, and then if it can break and the momentum carry it higher above 374, we can maybe see it all the way back to that high close to 420. The only problem with a lot of these shares, they had massive rallies. Just be careful. I mean, from March all the way, you can say from 208 to above 400 Rand, that's almost 100% recovery. Beautiful rally, and we've seen plenty of stocks doing that. So just be a little bit careful. The S&P, if you look at the fundamental analysts, they say it's the most expensive market in history. So what will happen is, if the S&P comes back, and we never know when, because you never have a vision, you can just say to yourself, when the S&P comes back, and if it is true that the fundamentals say it's too expensive, all South African shares will probably pick up, unless those shares that's been hammered so badly, they will just hold on to these levels. But shares that rallied beautifully, they can maybe pull back. Well, visit our website, www.fransdeklerk.com, and we will chat soon again.